we are still winning right here at Hacks and Hops. And if you can hear the sound of my voice, that means we are about to start the panel conversation. So I have some good news and I have some great news. The good news is we are almost near the end. The great news is we could not let you leave without asking your burning questions. And we have some amazing people who are ready, who are willing to make sure that you leave here with the information that you need to be able to do your job. Guess what? With ease and excellence. So again, here's how is this going to work. I'm going to introduce some of our panelists. 4 of them you've already met earlier today, and one of them will be a familiar face, but also a new face to the stage. I also have some assistants with me. So how we're gonna do this is, if you do have a question, all we want you to do is raise your hand. And we have Mercedes. Turn around and say hi to Mercedes. Mercedes, stand up really quickly. This is Mercedes. If you have a question, we are going to actually pass the microphone to you, and you can ask your question. Now, we have multiple experts on this panel. So if it is specifically for a person, we want you to say, you know, Evan, this question is for you. If it's for anyone on a panel, you can say it's an open-ended question. Whoever has the experience or expertise can jump on in. So Mercedes will be handling this part of the room. I'll be in the audience as well. We also have the fabulous Michaela in the audience. Michaela, raise your hand and say hello. So if you are on this side of the stadium, we want you to make sure that you raise your hand. Michaela will come to you and she will give you a microphone so your voice can be heard. So, like I mentioned before, we have some amazing human beings in this industry who want to give you insight and information from their brain that you can apply to the work that you do every day. You've already met Evan Francen earlier. He will be joining us on the panel, but let's give him some more love as he comes back to the stage. Evan, make your way on over here.
Y'all ready for this?
In addition to Evan, we have another familiar face. We have Oscar Minks, who's going to join him on the panel as well. And be on the lookout. They're throwing basketballs. In addition to that, we have Michael Kennedy, who you met earlier as well. I think over here is the Michael Kennedy fan club right here, right here. I love it. Also, we have Miss Rachel Lockett, who you met earlier as well with her fantabulous book. Let's welcome her back to the stage. I heard somebody said, finally, too much testosterone up there. So joining her is Miss Megan Larkins. Now, this is the first time you're hearing from Megan, and she is a superstar at FRSecure. She is actually an information security consulting manager who's driven to help organizations of all sizes recognize the urgent and the critical nature of taking an active role in information security. She oversees a large consulting team and has made significant impact on the development of this crew. With 10+ years of information technology leadership experience, Megan thoroughly understands the challenges of addressing the wide range of responsibilities that frequently fall into the bucket of an information technology department. Now, Megan's specialties include working with organizations to prioritize and communicate risk to executives and employees, policy writing and disaster recovery plan development, and Megan is also a detail-oriented planner and communicator. In addition to that, she is a member of the International Consortium of Minority Cybersecurity Professionals and a Business Continuity Planners Association. Let's go ahead and welcome Megan to the stage. I think I'm going to exit the stage before I get hit by one of these. So here's how this is going to work. We want to make sure that you ask your questions. I'm going to float around in the audience. Make sure you have your eyes, your ears, and your hands open because a basketball could be coming your way. So here's how we're going to do this. If you have a burning question that you have for any of the panelists or for someone in particular, now is the time to answer or ask that question. Just raise your hand and a microphone will be coming to you. If you raise your hand for a ball, you might get a microphone to ask your question. Just letting you know that right now. So does anybody have a question that they have for the panel? If not, I can get us started. We have a question right here. Michaela's making her way down. And if you have a question, go ahead and stand up for us so we can find you easily. and tell us your name.
Ask an easy one.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Thompson with FRSecure. It's hard because it echoes. And that's not because I've had just a half a glass of wine. Okay, so what is your greatest challenge as a leader? And what is your greatest challenge as a leader in cybersecurity, if that differs?
Is that for a person in particular or anyone who wants to answer?
All of you.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Well, you should have a good leader answer. What? You should have a good leader answer.
Megan. Yeah, Megan.
I get to start Megan. First. Oh boy. So challenge as a leader and then in information security. I mean, as a leader, I think it's just knowing your team and how to advance them and benefit them and help them keep growing and kind of working to their best and satisfactory. Just staying in touch with everybody and knowing how, as one person, I can try to move that for everybody. We serve a whole bunch of information security customers, so it's a little different than running your own information security program, so it's a little harder to speak to for me personally, but I think it's very similar. It's just there's so many activities going on trying to keep things moving while prioritizing regardless and know what is your most critical thing at any point.
I think my biggest challenge is, and it's in all aspects, it's just the fear of letting those that count on me down. And I think of leadership as leadership of our company, our teams, our individuals, but also our thought. And so, I mean, I've had a bunch of conversations with Evan about this throughout my career here, where it's like every time I take another step in this whole journey, the thing that's always in the front of my mind is I don't want to let those people who count on me down. And that extends through everyone in my company, and it really extends through my family, my friends, my whole network of people I love. And I think of leadership as so much more. It's just us as people in spaces with a company. We have influence, and we have relationships and care with so many people around us, and we need to be leaders in all aspects of life. And my biggest motivator is that, just trying to always be the best leader, enabling my people to identify and reach their full potential, both personally and business. They're both so important, so we have well-rounded, happy people. And really, yeah, that's my biggest thing. I just don't want to let people down.
Is my mic working? All right. I would tag into that too, when letting go and patience. But then also, what I really struggle with is the shadow we cast. As leaders, we cast this shadow. And so when I come into work and I'm angry that my wife didn't park the car in the garage the right way, my problem, that shadow gets cast in the workplace, and they see me walk in and I have this negative attitude, and they are giggling right now because they know this, and in ensuring that the way I show up, in ensuring that I'm there for them, kind of like that, and not letting them down, but also just making sure that we're perpetuating this culture. And it's okay to have a bad day, but it's not okay to continue that bad day. And we come to work in a safe place. So.
Those are great answers. I'm going to say ditto to all that on the personal leadership, and I'll take the second half of the question on cyber leadership, and I'm going to actually follow up on something that you mentioned in your talk. You were talking about risk management and also about speaking the language of business, and I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges is speaking to boards of directors and executives and helping them understand what we really need, what their role is. And so I've taken a very risk management approach to that. Our organization has a fairly sophisticated, it's probably 4 years in now, enterprise risk management program. And when it first kicked off, I realized something. So we went around to talk to all the leaders and gathered input on the risks facing the business, and not technology risks, not cybersecurity risks, but all of the risks. And it was eye-opening that so many of the risks were those financial things. You talked about accounting being the language of business, and it was things like you know, the perceived lack of security in downtown Minneapolis impacting ticket sales for the Twins, but it was also things like, you know, not having the portfolio of this particular business being diversified enough, or it was talking, you know, financial risks and measurements. And cybersecurity risk, data breach came really high in that list 4 years ago. And as we were talking about this and they were explaining, the business leaders were explaining why they rated it that way, I realized they were coming from a place of uninformed fear about cybersecurity. And some of them were saying, oh my gosh, you know, just waiting for the other shoe to drop, it's, you know, the big one's gonna hit any day, right? And there was this uninformed fear. And for some of them, that prompted them to say, well, just let me know how much money you need, you know, what software do you need to buy, what tools do you need, I'll just write a check, however much you need. But that's great, wish they would all say that all the time, but they don't say that all the time. And then others were like, you know what, it's gonna happen, there's no sense wasting money on it because it's, you know, we can't do anything about it. So there was all this uninformed fear, like I said. And so I really took an approach of education, and I created a way of communicating with them. Here's all of the things that have already happened and how we've managed through them and how we've overcome, how we've responded and recovered. Actually, I wish I could show it to you. I made a bubble diagram of, now I have 10 years of history. And so I have this bubble diagram that maps out 10 years and every incident that has occurred that's been an actual, you know, where we've either had business email compromise or a ransomware attack or whatever. And it maps it out in a timeline of 10 years, and it shows on the vertical axis what was the actual cost or impact, but then the bubble, the size of the bubble, is what was the potential impact. How bad could that have been? So it's a great way to illustrate to them, stuff happens, it has happened over the last 10 years. Here's how we've reacted and how we've responded and recovered. And I've said to them, you know, you've all heard the phrase, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But I say it's not just a matter of if or when, it's also a matter of how much is it gonna cost, how long is it gonna take us to discover it, how quickly will we be able to recover, and how are we gonna look in the aftermath, in the post-incident assessment? Are we gonna look like idiots who ignored all the warning signs and didn't know what we were doing, or are we gonna look like we had covered all the right bases and we had done all of the right things and we just got really unlucky that day? And that's how I've explained it now for 4 years. And so we've started to come to this better understanding, and instead of uninformed fear, I think our business leaders now have an informed respect for information security and the needs. And the result of that is now, 4 years in, we keep dropping in the ranking compared to all of the other business risks. And I kept saying for that whole time, I'm like, okay, that's great, but as long as we stay in the top 10, because I don't want to lose, you know, the funding that we do have. I want to stay in the top 10. I just had to have a conversation with our chief risk management officer, and he said, you're going to drop to 12 this year. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's a good thing, but I don't want to lose my, you know, our investment. So that's the biggest challenge, but that's how we've tried to address it.
Well, it's a great sign, because building anything, you know, building a security program is more expensive than maintaining it. So even if you lose some budget, you'll do just fine. On leading, I tell all the, you know, leaders and my team that the two biggest things just in leading in general is, one, it's lonely at the top. And I say that, and I'm not asking for anybody to take pity, but nobody understands what it's like, you know, going through what you're going through. And I think going into that with your eyes wide open, that's normal. It's just normal. And the second thing, if a good leader, actually it's going to be three. A good leader, the wind blows the strongest at the top of the mountain. A good leader understands that. A good leader, you don't invite it, but shit rolls uphill, right, in good leadership. And so that's really important. And then, I can't remember the third thing. Whatever, there was a third thing, and it was really wise. Trust me on that. For security leadership, the biggest challenge I've run into is just misalignment. So everything in a business is supposed to provide value to the business, right? Alignment. So if your mission, if the business is mission driven, how does security feed the mission? If it's money driven, how does security make us more money? How does it save us more money? And not always focused on the loss side of things, because honestly, we don't share loss data very well, so a lot of times you're kind of shooting in the dark on that, because that's how you resonate with business. And you always have to stay in alignment. And the challenge is when you have a new CEO, and I've seen some of my CISO friends go through this. You get a new CEO. Well, now it changed. You built the program to enable this, and now it's kind of over here. And sometimes you do have to, get rid of some technology, let some people go, because you need to realign yourself. I think from a security leadership perspective, that's always been the hardest.
I also want to add that good leaders get very innovative and they hide microphones in their beards. And I don't know if you can see that from here, but that's what Evan just did.
Oh, yeah.
It's in his beard because he wanted to make sure that you can hear him correctly. So innovation as well. Yeah. Great question and great answers. Anyone else have any questions for the fabulous panel that we have here? All right, so we have one over here. Mercedes is making her way over. And then I saw somebody over here as well. All right.
Ask an easy one.
Evan said ask an easy question.
Oh, sure, yeah. Joel from Ames Construction. What's that one thing that's keeping you up at night besides parking the car in the wrong place in the garage?
People not having an incident response plan.
I'm so good at sleeping, man. Dude, I don't have any trouble sleeping at all. If you have trouble sleeping, I would suggest turmeric. Is that bad for me?
Melatonin. Yeah.
Estrogen is bad. Don't do estrogen.
This is the wrong crowd.
That'd be the women do the estrogen. But turmeric would work really good. The one thing that keeps me up at night would be the one thing I can't replace. Money is money, right? So if somebody stole a whole bunch of money from me, I can make more money. The one thing I can't replace is the innocence of my children. So, what my daughter's doing on TikTok. Because when I was a kid, we would lock the front door. There was no technology shit. And, to keep the bad guys out, right? Bad guys from preying on me, sexual predators, whatever. And now we put our kids to bed with these people on their phone. A lot of us, every night. Without understanding what the consequences of that really are. So that's the thing that bothers me the most. Because I can't get the innocence back, Even if you stole my identity, shit, I'll just steal yours.
Yeah, moving from that place of uninformed fear to informed respect helps, and getting our business leaders there helps me sleep at night. That's what they used to ask, what keeps you up at night? And I would say, nothing, because we're doing the right things. And this is, years into developing the program, right? At first, I was like, oh, geez, what did I just take on here? But after developing the program, putting everything in place, nope. I sleep well. Things are still going to happen. Don't think I'm sitting here saying it won't. But we're going to detect, we're going to recover, we're going to, get things back to the secure state, and we're going to be okay. And, yeah.
Yeah. I sleep pretty good at night, too. I really do, yeah. It's not turmeric. Turmeric or turmeric?
It's spelled turmeric, but I say turmeric.
Okay, all right. The thing that bugs me, I guess, is just the lack of preparedness. And I always like to think about everyone in here has a home. Most of us have a family. You have smoke detectors in your home. You lock your doors at night, or when you go places, you have a plan with your children. If there is a fire, you know how to get out of the house, so you know what to do. And it really continually just blows my mind that people are so post-fact thinking about an incident, rather than it's really simple to do a couple things beforehand. Build a plan, have a plan, test your plan, make sure everyone who's involved in the plan knows what their role is, so they know the escape route from the house. They know what to do when you hear the fire detector go off at night. And it doesn't keep me up at night, but maybe it just pisses me off more. The resources are there, they're free, so there's really no excuse. And why wouldn't you treat the welfare, the well-being of your employees, your clients that rely on you, with a greater level of respect, so that you can ensure, just like you were talking about, it's like, we know it's not if or when, it's what's it going to cost? what's the damage, right? And we have the ability to do those analytics and determine that for any business, and everyone can do that, but why are you not planning on what to do? Why are you not more formal about that? It's a simple thing, and makes me kind of mad sometimes.
I think just to add on that, as I kind of think about it, I think it boils down to lack of transparency, like was mentioned before too, because I think for me, it's kind of that unknown. And so for the businesses we work with, like it kind of comes down to you're choosing the partners that you work with, the vendors that you work with, and trying to get the information about how well they run their programs, what they do it's like pulling teeth sometimes. And it's really hard to just get some of that basic information. And I think about the same thing as, you know, a consumer or person at home. It's like, how secure is this device that I'm purchasing and putting into my home and, you know, handing to my children or putting in our environment where it can potentially hear or, you know, interact or observe our behaviors. Like, for the most part, you want to believe that it should just be trustworthy, but when you don't have that level of trust or transparency so that you can verify whether you should trust it or not, I think that's kind of what bothers me a lot. Yeah.
Well, now you're putting like implants into people. You mean medical implants and devices into people, and the fact of the matter is, anything beyond hello world in terms of code has bugs, guaranteed. Vulnerabilities or, you know, just malfunctioning things. And even the best development teams, you know, I know of are still somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 errors per 1,000 lines of code. So we call that a K-lock. And some of those, like small device, like your Tesla, I don't know, 30 million lines of code. Shit, I don't know if I want to drive that thing. I kind of like my dumb car.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm going to say everything keeps me up at night.
Who does?
Everything.
Yes.
Everything does.
Turmeric.
No, it doesn't work. I waver. I mean, honestly, I waver on insomnia as well. I stress about the river being high and fishing. I get anxiety around. Did somebody click on emails today? I open up my email in the morning, and how many alerts am I going to have? And who's addressing it in the team? What customers? So for me, it's kind of everything. And going back to my talk. Oh wait. Oh, thank you. That the thoughts of impending doom does not mean doom is impending. And going through and letting go and analyze, I overanalyze everything. Analyzing each one of those pieces, like you talked about, Oscar. Is there a plan? Do we have something in? Are the doors locked? Are the lights on? Are where's the kid at? Where? How is the team addressing these type of events? Have we tabletopped this? Have we done that? That really gets into the letting go. But I mean, honestly, just everything keeps me up. I worry, anxiety, everything. So
I would like to add to, because I think maybe this is the point of the question too. I think a lot of people think that researchers in our field are constantly worrying about like a new technology, a new hack, a new exploit, something new that's going to happen, and we really don't. I don't think about that at all. It's always something new. And really, to go back and look at the data from my report, like, it's not that shit we got to worry about. It's the basics. This is stuff we're talking about that we're failing at now. So none of that new stuff keeps me up at night. I just want us to do what we should be doing.
Yep. And I think the more experience you have with risk management, the more you can put risk into perspective, right? Because like take my phone. I mentioned, I just installed 17.03 on my, iOS 17.03 on my phone. It would never keep me up at night because in perspective, okay, you attacked my phone. You got, I know the limit to where you can go. Of all the other shit I have to worry about, maybe that's not even on my top 10 list right now. So I think the more you become educated, the more people become educated. Like, you are the CEO of your home, right? The security of your house is your responsibility, not mine. I don't want you to get taken advantage of. I don't want you to have your children preyed upon. I don't want you to install the latest and greatest, I don't know, fucking, what the hell? There's like shit that does everything at home now. Everybody's so fucking lazy. Like, my refrigerator orders milk for me. Get off your ass and go get milk, man. I mean, come on. Then we complain that we're all like, so obese and shit like that. But, you can deal without that stuff. And everything you put into your house is your responsibility. Every piece of technology. And so I don't want people to suffer from that. I sleep well knowing that I won't, because, my family is what's most important to me. So I wish more people would think like that. I wish more people would look out for themselves, take information security personally, and it's good advice for executives too. The more they understand like how they personally can be impacted, because the same IP version 4 that's running on your home network is the same IP version 4 I'm talking about on your network. That same router that you're trying to change the default password for at home, same fucking concept in the office, right? So the more they can take ownership and see it, how it affects them personally, that hopefully that helps me more in my job. So
Thank you for that question.
Don't fuck yourselves, guys.
Thank you for that question. Thank you for all those diverse answers. Appreciate it. I think we have somebody right here. Stand up.
Sure. I want to say thank you for having these conversations with us. It's been awesome. I have to wonder if beard equals paranoia or if it's just a factor of that, because I notice a lot of beards at this convention. So,
and yours is a lot longer.
Well, it would be weird if she had a beard. I mean, you're still awesome, but it's just different. So I don't know. Is that an estrogen thing? If you have
Beard
less,
equals laziness. I don't like shaving.
Lazy. We were talking
does
earlier.
estrogen do beard stuff?
I got lazy. I didn't want to shave. Oh, I put the ball.
That's exactly what it was.
I mean, I take care of it, but
I started growing out my beard the first time because it was No Shave November. I was like, awesome. Lazy. I love it. You guys can tell, right? I'm not like a hygiene guy, really, so much. I shower once in a while.
you smell good.
Once a week.
You smell.
You
smell good today.
My wife, sometimes comes into my office and reminds me, Evan, you haven't showered this week. Thanks, baby. I'll go do that. So it started off being lazy, and then it just like grew. And then my wife, at first she was like, I hate it. And then she was like, oh, I like it. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So then it just started that way. And then I thought I wanted a fresh start, like, was it 5 months ago? And I was like, you know what? I wonder what I look like if I shaved this shit off. So I did it. I didn't like what I saw. There's another chin, brother. How the fuck did that chin get there? So I shaved it off and I was like, oh God, I can't grow it back. I did save the hair. I was thinking about seeing if somebody could weave a beard wig or something. Yeah, I don't know. That's how I started.
Anyone else want to add?
Told you I'm weird.
I think
Yeah.
Evan nailed it. Yeah.
Did you see my shoes? I got cool shoes.
Cool. All right, I think we have a few other questions. Okay, so we have a question.
Anybody who wants to start their own
Michaela?
business, you can look at me and go like, there's hope for me. If that guy can start a business and run a business, I'm not as fucked up as that dude, right?
She's making her way up to the step. I do see her. And then we're going to come over to you next. Okay, sir?
Thank you. Wow.
Where is this guy?
Echo.
He's right here. Straight up.
Oh, damn.
Aaron Weeks, Nahan, dealing with the echo. I don't know how to follow the beard comment, but I do have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can barely understand myself. We got about 5 different states doing something similar to California's CCPA. How do you feel about some kind of federal Consumer Protection Act? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Does anybody have an opinion on that?
Oh, you're talking to us like we've got an opinion.
Just
on
curious.
federal shit.
I think it's a pipe dream. I think, they can't pass a budget, so they can get something like that together.
I mean, the thing about, if you really want to change people, compliance, oh shit, I got to write an article about this. Compliance expert. Any compliance experts here? Because I was thinking about that this morning, like a 3-year-old kid's a fucking compliance expert. You know what I mean? Because a compliance expert is doing what you've been told to do. That's it. You do what you've been told to do. So the way compliance works, you have the letter of the law and you have the intent of the law. What most people do is they do the letter of the law, which wasn't the intent. So you end up with checkbox security, you end up with a shitty security program. So every compliance mandate ends up there, eventually. Even if you have like super prescriptive shit in your compliance. And since you mentioned CCPA, I was thinking about, do you remember when we didn't have to click to accept the damn cookies everywhere? We totally fucked ourselves on that. Because we were all working so hard to tell people to stop clicking on stuff. Don't click on stuff, don't click on stuff, don't click on stuff. Now every website you go to, you gotta click on stuff. And are people actually reading that? No. You just wanna get to the damn website, right? Oh man, that backfired. That's hard for me. So I don't know, that's my take on compliance. You know, for the security people, us in the business, we'll make a lot of money from it, sadly. You know, I think some security consulting companies will try to build good risk management in the compliance. And that's what we try to do. Like when you talk about, you know, CMMC or ISO or SOC 2 or whatever the hell we're doing, can I build it in a way that's actually more towards the intent of the law versus the letter? Those are the people that end up winning because you truly understand risk.
Yeah, that's probably I don't know if it can be heard, the complication of it, right? Like the pipe dream is, well, the whole reason it exists is because to tell companies that they need to be good to the customer data that they're collecting and keep it minimal and not inadvertently expose it or use it in ways that they're not supposed to. So yeah, from a security standpoint, it'd be great to have them all universal so that we don't have to look at 5 different rules to figure out in which context we need to make sure that things are just described a little bit differently. At the same point, if you just adopt the intent, you should be able to encapsulate all of them, but when you do have all of those different requirements written slightly different ways, then it complicates it and it makes it hard even to follow the intent sometimes because you're constantly checking, well, did I do it exactly right and what changed and when did it change? And I think that's where security gets really complicated and hard.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. The challenge is different states and entities trying to govern their own subsets of rules and regulations. And so to back up though, I think like the CCPA, the intentions are good, but it's the challenge because like Megan said, it's being governed by states. And then back to Evan's talk, like what the fuck is CISA doing? Why are we not governing this on a national level? And then I'm sure you guys have all seen now the FTC is involved, right? And so the FTC wants to know about all the breaches because it's the valuation of money, but I do think they have a better shot than anyone else for publicly traded companies because they're controlling the money. And so they are going to have more power and ability and a greater investment into putting that into place and ensuring that people adhere to that. But still, the challenge is exactly what you said. Like, we need to unify in this approach. I think the intentions are well. We all have a right to know how our data is being handled when our data is breached and lost, which our data has probably already been gone at some point anyway, but we still need to know when that happens again and what to do so we can protect ourselves. So intentions are good, but will it ever happen? Not until we unify and we get a common approach.
Yeah, one of the oldest compliance initiatives in our industry, one of the oldest is HIPAA, right? It was passed in 1996. It was finalized in 2003. There were some revisions, 2009. The only thing, it didn't work, right? If you've seen information security in healthcare, you know sort of where things are at. But the one thing that did work that I've seen in all of this compliance across the board was meaningful use. And so meaningful use was an incentive. It was an incentive for healthcare to move from paper-based records to electronic health records, and so the government would give you money if you did that, but you had to meet these requirements. And they were called the meaningful use requirements. The last requirement was that you needed to do a risk assessment. So this was 2009, 2010. It had passed in 1996. The security rule had already mandated a risk analysis, administrative, physical, and technical safeguards in the original language. But nobody did shit because there wasn't any consequences if I didn't do shit. But the one thing that really, really worked was incentive. Give them an incentive. Show them what's in it for them, as opposed to, well, we're gonna beat your ass if you don't have it. Because that didn't work in healthcare either, right? They don't do audits, they do investigations. So if you have a breach, OCR eventually will come knocking at your door. That's the Office for Civil Rights, the enforcement arm for HIPAA. But they're so backlogged right now. It might be like one of the breaches I worked on was the Blue Cross Blue Shield breach. That's one of the most known ones, I think, in healthcare. You had Anthem, Premera, and Excelis. That happened in 2015. They didn't get their corrective action plan from OCR until 2021, 6 years. So for 6 years, you have this uncertainty, still paying lawyers a shitload of money. Lawyers make a lot of money. So compliance is just really intricate when it doesn't have to be that way. You also can't make compliance prescriptive, overly prescriptive, because anybody who knows security, it's not one size fits all. The way I do security in this company is different than the way I do security in this company. What's common, that's what you can make prescriptive, right? And I think there's just a misunderstanding in how that works. But anyway, I could preach about that. Hallelujah.
And we could probably pass an offering plate for you, because we know you can tear the house down.
What am I gonna do?
Pass the offering plate if you want to preach.
Preach, yeah.
All right.
Gospel
Well,
of security.
I want to thank the panel for this awesome, amazing conversation. I know that we had a question here, but we are out of time. But there is good news. Will all of you be hanging out for a couple more hours? I think we have some time to have some fun. So
Yeah, but I don't want to talk to him.
okay. So if you still had a burning question and you didn't get a chance to answer it, just know that this fabulous panel will be out. They will be hanging around. But let's do me a great favor, and let's just give them a round of applause for sharing their expertise and their knowledge. We had Evan Francen, Oscar Minks, Michael Kennedy, Rachel Lockett, and last but certainly not least, joining the discussion was Miss Megan Larkins. So again, give them a round of applause as they exit the stage.